Yeah.
Uh-huh. Is that true?
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Are they in the proper approach pattern for today?
Negative.
All weapons! Now! Charge the lightning field!
Welcome back to Dispatch Ajax. Just a little outside.
Oh, man. Johnny Fever, you are not.
I'm more of a Les Nessman kind of guy.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, man, that's a dated reference. Still one of the greater theme songs in all comedy history, but...
Oh, man, it's been too long. I don't even remember.
Baby, if you've ever wondered whatever became of me.
All right, you keep talking. I'm going to listen to WKRP in Cincinnati real quick.
It's good. You know they made a sequel show?
Was it in Cincinnati?
Yeah, it was called like the new WKRP in Cincinnati.
Boo.
There were like 2 returning characters.
Was it like a podcast? WKRP podcast?
There's a podcast for WKRP?
No, just saying like, you know. Wondered. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Oh, man.
It just slaps, man.
Fuck yeah, it does.
It's a good one.
Man, I want to put my skates on to get on the floor.
I know.
There had to have been people who got conceived during that intro.
Oh, yeah. That it didn't take long.
Well, you got to get to the show. You got to hurry up and get it done before the funny happens.
But
you got to get the funny business out of the way.
Yeah, got to get that funny bone.
Got to get that funny bone, folks. Funny bone.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're all laughing.
Firing all cylinders here.
Firing right into your hole, your ear holes.
Yeah. Too bad I'm just like a 4-cylinder. I'm like a Yugo.
Well, I bet the joke was going to be better, but then you went back in the past and changed it, and retrocausally, it changed what WKRP in Cincinnati was and what the joke ended up being, and then what the audience ended up laughing at in the future.
Yeah. Instead of what's his name who played Johnny Fever, it was actually played by Billy Connolly, who replaced that same actor in Head of the Class in the later seasons. So it's a mess.
That's a total mess. Speaking of which, what'd you think of the new Flash film?
Oh yeah,
Skip?
that thing. Boy, that was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So there were things that I really liked about it.
Like what?
I really liked that whole opening scene when you're getting like Flash vision. You're like watching him run. Because I've never seen that in a Flash thing or Quicksilver thing or anything like that. The one where he runs to Gotham, like at the very beginning.
Right. And it's just like everything slows down, and then he's like the red streak.
Well, yeah.
But we've seen that before?
If they follow him all the way to Gotham, like, you know, like we kind of start off, everything turns kind of gold, and it's like you can see the scenery stretching and everything, and it's like a really long sequence. But I thought that looked cool. I really don't care for Ezra Miller as the Flash, but there's only been maybe one on-screen portrayal of the Flash that I thought felt like the Flash.
Who was that?
It was actually the animated movie.
Okay.
You know, the Darwin Cook one?
Yeah, I'm just trying to... I mean, I don't really remember that Flash much.
Barry Allen isn't the young ADHD kid, nor is he the wisecracking whippersnapper, like they are trying to do in, like, Justice League cartoon and all that. No, he's the elder statesman, and that's what makes Wally's character important, because then Wally has to grow up from being Kid Flash to an adult in like in a day. This Barry's dead. So they don't seem to get it. Most of that I can forgive, but one thing I could not forgive was god-awful visual effects in this movie. I mean, It's atrocious. It feels like it feels unfinished. Like it feels like they didn't even bother rendering the thing final. You know what I mean?
I love that the director came out and said, well, that's like flash vision that is kind of supposed to be distorted and kind of off from normal.
Okay, so it's flash vision when Flash is not in the scene, but we're following around Bruce Wayne on the Bat Cycle. That's supposed to be flash vision? Okay, yeah.
I didn't say I believed it. I'm just telling you what he came out and said.
Well, it especially says, if we have flash vision, why are we looking at Ezra Miller?
I think what he's trying to point out is the really bad CGI stuff. You know, like when they have the fake people that are versions of Superman or what?
Well, actually, you know what? I thought those were better than the CGI in that weird Coliseum thing.
Yeah, the Coliseum of Time Speed Force thing was so weird.
It was weird because they don't explain it.
No, not at all. Like, what are we supposed to draw from this? Is this supposed to be the panoply of all possible events?
I don't know, because it actually looks like a Coliseum. It has like a physical structure to it. And I don't understand why.
Because it's like a way station in the Speed Force?
I guess.
That if you run fast enough, you break time, and then you go to this place.
Well, did you notice that they never once actually explained the Speed Force either?
Oh, yeah, not at all.
He mentions it. I feel like there are several times in the movie where they just kind of do some weird plot device or plot point, and then he would turn to me or I'd turn to Kane and be like, where did that come from? Why did that happen? And then a couple scenes later, they would give you some half-assed retroactive explanation for it. And it was like, I guess that makes sense. But I like that they didn't necessarily beat you over the head with explaining stuff, but they also just didn't explain on much of anything. He's like, oh, I upgraded my suit. Did you? Did Batman do it? Did you do it? Did you buy it at a store? Like, they don't say anything.
I also like you did this, but someone else can do it in just like a rubber suit and be almost as fine.
Well, it's because it was Batman's suit.
Oh, it was a Batman suit, right?
Well, he actually explains that before they do it, so that's whatever. I don't care. But it looks stupid.
But that's like, I mean, it makes more sense than say, I still don't understand how running fast, like gravity no longer matters.
Yeah, well, okay, so one of the things they do relatively cleverly, without actually explaining it, is when he's just moving fast, when he's just using super speed, his lightning is blue. When he's tapping into the Speed Force, it's gold. And so when he's doing all those crazy things acrobatically, the lightning is gold orange or whatever, meaning that he's manipulating the Speed Force to aid him in nullifying gravity to a certain extent, and like that's how he can run past the speed of light. And
when they show the scene of Zod when he comes during Man of Steel,
yeah,
and he goes up and he catches a child,
yeah,
and then he floats down to the ground. And then he just runs fast right when he hits the ground.
Yeah, I don't really understand how he landed okay on that. It would have made sense if he had created like a flash tornado with his arms or whatever to like slow his descent. That would have made sense because they do that later in the movie and it's awesome. It's like, yeah, finally, show him what Flash to do. But no, they don't do that. He just sticks his foot out and slows down time. What?
I mean, it's the same thing like when he runs up the building and then he's saving all those babies and whatnot. But there's still mass and gravity,
yeah,
and you have to work with those things. You don't just nullify them.
That, funny enough, is actually something from the Silver Age Flash stories where he would ascend into the air by running on top of raindrops. Because when he's moving that fast, it's almost as if those objects are fixed where they are, and he springboards off of it. It doesn't make any sense, but...
It doesn't make any sense!
No, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm saying that's what they were doing. They were going back to the lore.
What I would appreciate more... Okay, so he can vibrate his molecules enough to essentially split them apart and move between solid matter, right?
Yeah, that was cool. They showed how it worked.
It always functions with gravity that they show. If he can choose, why can't he just go up? Why is that the time that gravity works? Because if you were moving fast enough to vibrate your molecules, that's not part of the Speed Force?
Well, they don't actually say.
I know, it just doesn't make any sense.
He used to be able to do that before he actually even tapped into the Speed Force, so I would assume that's just part of his speed.
Isn't that beyond normal going fast? literally moving so fast that your body, you can change the density of your form?
It's not that he's necessarily changing the density. He's literally slipping at all the atoms in his body between all of the atoms in whatever wall or door or whatever. Because all the empty space between, atoms.
Yeah, I get that, but how do you...
Okay.
I'm sorry, how do you do that?
If I knew how, I'd be doing it. I'm just saying,
like, that's a whole lot different than running extremely fast, extremely far. I think that's a whole nother level that makes more sense with the Speed Force than it does I move fast, thus.
Yeah, especially since I always thought phasing through walls would be really cool when I was a kid, but then I always had this problem with how are you still standing on the ground and walking forward if you're phasing through solid matter? Because then later, he falls through the floor.
Which, if you're going to do it, that makes more sense.
Yes, it does. But it
doesn't make sense that I'm going to take steps, especially with someone in my arms.
Right. I know. No, of course that doesn't make any sense. But actually, that's always been the problem with those types of powers.
Yeah. Well, that's why I like what Shadowcat, essentially the gravity doesn't affect her the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why she floats if she wants to.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's a good MacGuffin for that.
Yeah. A little bit of explanation. That's all I'm asking for.
Oh, I know. But that's the weird thing about it is that sometimes they give you explanation and other times they don't bother.
Yeah. No, I think so much of it is the kind of rule of cooling it, and let's just roll with it and have quote unquote fun.
Right.
Which I'm mostly okay with because I don't think it's an atrocious film.
Right.
I do think there are some fun bits in there.
Yeah.
I think there's like an emotional core that actually resonates.
Yeah, it actually works. Yes, it does. But at the same time, the movie never figures out what it is. Like, the tone is all over the place. Like, is it Shazam or is it Homecoming? Like, it doesn't know what level of funny and what level of serious it wants to be. And it never really establishes Barry's shtick. Like, they throw a bunch of stuff at the wall to see what sticks instead of just being like, well, he would make this type of joke here, he'd make this type of joke there. He just kind of like, he's the wise ass. He's the annoying one. He's he's every sort of like stupid archetype of that kind of character.
Right. Especially when you're pairing two of them at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And one has to be more serious than the other.
Absolutely.
Because the other one has to be super annoying.
It's like a fucking cartoon. It's so annoying. And then Sirius Barry's just kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Which is so different from every other version that actors played.
Yeah.
Up until that point.
Yeah.
And I know it has to be the juxtapositions so you can see like why they are at odds and why they are different, etc., but you're still cutting out part of what that character was to then amplify it in some ways and diminish it in others.
Yeah, it can't find its footing. To use a pun, it feels rushed. I mean, the whole movie just feels like unfinished and it just feels cobbled together from different ideas that don't seem to go together.
Hearing about all like the filmed different endings and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how much of that was cobbled together.
Could be. Well, and I mean, if they had to do reshoots, but Ezra Miller wasn't available, like, what do you do?
I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, okay, that was also one of the worst parts of that. Like, just the CGI, when it would be the two of them together, like at the laboratory, you can very clearly tell that the other one is a different guy. The face manipulation is so fucking bad. His face, like, morphs as he moves. And you can tell it's a guy with, like, a bigger nose and, like, a bigger brow. Kind of looks like Frank Grillo,
Did you see it in the theater?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. You know how many people...
My screen was relatively small.
Oh, no. If you see it in high res, it's vomit-inducing bad. It's some of the worst special effects I've ever seen.
And that's what I would say for the Nicolas Cage worthless throw-in. It
was fun,
Nicolas Cage.
I thought they did.
Did they?
I don't know. I just assumed that he did it.
It didn't look like it. It looked like just a CGI version of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, they should have just done a live-action Nick Cage. They really should have. Because I understand, obviously, I thought the George Reeves one looked cool. And, like, the black and white Jake Garrick was cool.
I think that helped it look better. I thought the Supergirl and Donner's Superman was not good.
I thought it was okay.
I also don't really care. We have all of these actors that have played Superman. And they have played other DC characters. Why are we picking the people that are no longer with us?
Because they already wrapped up those characters' arcs on the CW. And those are tied together because Ezra Miller showed up as the Flash in the Flash TV show, meaning that those are all in the multiverse. And they've already established what happened to Tom Welling and what happened to Brandon Routh's Superman and all that. They've already covered it. So doing it again would either negate that or it would just be confusing.
Okay, you were just throwing whatever you want at this DCEU at this point, and Arrowverse has distinctly never been a part of that.
It is, though. They establish it in the Flash. Ezra Miller shows up and talks to Barry about the multiverse and then leaves. It happens.
But that's its own thing.
No, it's not because it's Ezra Miller.
What I'm saying is that's its own universe. The
Yeah,
Arrowverse,
it is.
right?
It is, yeah.
And
yeah.
you have the Snyderverse itself. Why can't you have the Brandon Routhverse?
Because they do that in Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW. They went to the Superman Returns universe, and they showed what happened to Brandon Routh. They went to the Smallville universe, and they showed what happened to Tom Welling. They did it. They already did it.
But I'm saying, like, who gives a shit? The people going to see this movie, they're not necessarily watching 15 years of Arrowverse. That's a very small group. And you're catering to, like, well, they've already seen that happen on the small screen. There's no way they'd want to see it on the big screen. And we definitely can't, like, go against the rules of their multiverse or time series. Couldn't it just be a different version? Wouldn't you want to, like, show the people that these people going to the theater have seen that they might care about?
Well, I mean,
it's not Nicolas Cage, because you know the amount of people who know that Nicolas Cage was supposed to be a Superman once upon a time,
fighting a giant spider
20 years ago in a film that never got made, fighting a giant spider. That is so tiny compared to the people seen Arrowverse. It's just like you're catering to, like, this particular crowd, but we can't get in the way of these. You think they wouldn't be excited to see those same people? They're not going to, like, tighten up their arms like, oh, well, that doesn't fit in my version of the Arrowverse.
Well, yeah, actually, I think because Arrowverse fans and DCEU fans are probably a little bit different, to be perfectly honest. I think it would piss off the fan base for the Arrowverse, which is stupid and I hate, but, you know, people do love it religiously. So, I mean, I'm just telling you what they did and why. I'm not saying it was a good idea. It's just that was the thinking behind it. I did kind of have a fanboy moment when I saw Nicolas Cage, though. That was...
I think maybe if it didn't look so shitty...
It did look shitty.
I might have been more into it. But I also don't... Also, if you're going to do, like, these cameo things, you have these 3 weird ones. A black and white universe. Okay. Right?
Yes. 2 black and white universes, actually.
2 black, because you got the Jay Garrick there as well. Are they not in the same one?
No, he looked in a different direction when he saw Jay Garrick.
Okay. I don't.
That's the George Reeves serials / television universe, and the other one was the I don't know universe because there was never a Flash representation in the 40s, but some other weird.
I just assumed that they were putting it in that we just it's an element we never saw.
Oh, I mean, maybe that's what they were thinking, but
I mean, why else are we going to do 2 black and white universe? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. But at the same time, like, you didn't need to do any of that. I mean, I don't know. It's just trying to figure the logic out for that is right. A fool's errand.
Right. But if you're going to do those 3, and you have a black and white, an 80s verse, essentially 70s, 80s verse, and then this made up never happened verse. We've seen Multiverse of Madness at this point.
Yep.
We've seen 2 Spider-Verse films at this point.
Yep.
Why not have an animated one?
Yeah, I know.
Then you could have those actors come back and reprise their voices or do something.
Kevin Conroy's
even though none of the other characters talk. Oh, okay. If we can, we can like have Tarkentown CGI people.
Tarkentown.
You don't think you can find someone has a voice similar to him, or just cut out bits of the stuff you own at WB?
Yeah, I know.
Put that in. Wouldn't that be a little more interesting than this? Get your Tom Wellings, get your Arrowverse, fucking throw them all in there. Get the Lois and Clark, whatever.
That's the one. That one, Taylor Hoechlin or whatever. Yeah, I mean that one kind of surprised me. But the one I was looking for when they showed Nicolas Cage, I'm like, okay, you're gonna go deep cut lore, fine. Where's Dean Cain? You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's probably on
Well,
some
I know, but I
Christian
mean, if
film.
they're not going to really use an actor, you could just show Dean Cain. You know what I mean?
I would think so.
Where's Superboy, the TV show?
I
Like,
don't-
where's the
Yeah,
70s
why
to
not?
Shazam? Where's the Mighty Mighty Isis? Why not? Fuck it.
Where's any of this stuff? Where's the 80s Justice League?
Oh, I guess that's the other one I was thinking of. I was like, oh, please do this never aired pilot Justice League movie. Oh, where the Flash is a total douche nozzle.
Okay, let's be honest. This is as much a Batman movie as it is a Flash
100%.
movie.
And you know what? I think, okay, so they delayed the release of this movie from well over a year? I think what
Yes.
happened was they had something different in mind. And when the Ezra Miller stuff came out, because they internally knew about it before it became public. Because remember, he was being accused of like false imprisonment.
Oh,
and
it's a
stuff
lot.
back
Again,
in, like,
we're not
years ago.
We're not necessarily getting
No, I
into
know,
that.
but I'm saying like the studio knew before it went public, and so like and before the later incidents. So I think they were trying to distance themselves at the same time by giving the audience a different reason to go watch the movie, you know, but making it super Keaton centric. And I mean, there's a reason they didn't put Ezra Miller on the promotion circuit. They put it fucking
Right.
Keaton. Because they don't want him in public. They don't want to associate with them. But they have no problem with, well, I mean, obviously they have a problem with Henry Cavill because they replaced him with Supergirl. So that's a thing.
That's the reason?
Yeah. Apparently, because I've read that Henry Cavill is like super hard to work with and he's a total diva.
I have heard
That's
some
why
of
he got
these
fired
things.
from The Witcher.
Yeah, well, apparently, what I was reading that he
He didn't like the sex scenes.
he kind of wanted to do his own thing. He didn't necessarily want to do what was on the page or what the director wanted. He wanted his own thing, and that just wasn't working out.
Yeah, he was going like mild
And then-
Klaus Kinski at that point. Yeah.
yeah. I don't really know what to make.
I
of
know,
all
because
that.
like he got fired from being Superman, even though he said, well, I'm coming back. And they're like, no, you're not. That's kind of our decision. And then he gets fired from The Witcher, and you're like, wow, okay, something's going on here.
Yeah, because it sounded like the timing originally was that he was going to do whatever Superman thing, and then he's going to do The Witcher. And no, I'm not going to do Superman. I'm going to do The Witcher, and then I get fired from The Witcher, and now I'm not going to do Superman as well. And
He came out and said, yes, I'm going to be Superman again. And then the studio was like, nope.
I think this goes all the way back to the Justice League stash.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like in that scenario, well, because that's also why they didn't have Cyborg back in this movie, if you notice. Because every single other
Yeah.
Justice League members in the movie, the end credit scene is automatic.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It's kind of funny.
You know, I had to leave the theater before the end credits came up, so
The theater of your living room? Theater
I
of the
don't know what you're
mind?
talking about. I did not happen to see said end credits. I did read about like the 3 different versions of the end credits.
Well, I mean, that's not even counting the draft script. Because, like, originally it was about Kilmer, and he said no. Well, and
Yeah.
he's Kilmer.
Right, yeah.
The Clooney thing I thought was great, but I saw it coming, so I was like, it's actually the most pivotal point in the movie because it proves that he didn't fix everything, and then there's still a multiverse. That's kind of the most important part of the movie, to be honest. It's pretty crucial.
Although I do love that he's stuck in that version of Batman.
A really great version of Bruce Wayne, but a terrible version of Batman. Speaking of that, where was Christian Bale?
I believe that both he and Nolan said they were not interested in having
Even
any
though
of that.
Nolan was cool with having his name as executive producer for all of those Zack Snyder movies?
Well, I think he's a buddy with Zack Snyder, and that's also before like DC was a complete dumpster fire.
I think it was when DC became a dumpster fire, because like his first EP credit was Man of Steel.
I think there was still some excitement about what was to come.
He's friends with people who wrote Man of Steel. He actually suggested to the studio Zack Snyder over Darren Aronofsky. Well, that's got to be awkward when you see Aronofsky in the elevator, you know?
Well, seeing what Aronofsky's done, I'm not really sure. I'm sorry, I was reading about Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder's relationship.
Were they married?
So what did you think about the Keaton?
I actually loved, well, okay, I was looking for Keaton. I was looking for energetic, snarky, quick-witted Keaton. What we got was a really muted Keaton that didn't do much. I mean, he's in it a lot.
he does a lot of things.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Okay, so there are good scenes where he's talking about, like, I do what I do to overcompensate for whatever, and you actually saved your mother or whatever. That scene's good. And a good mentoring type pep talk thing. But he doesn't have that snappy wit. He doesn't have the key. Even when he was the Vulture, he was more energetic and more, you know.
But he does the line, Skip. Don't you want to get nuts?
That was the worst part of the movie. Guess how many people were in the theater when Kate and I went to see this?
Ooh, counting you?
Counting the two of us, how many people were in the theater?
7.
4.
Oh, okay.
And they only showed up right before the movie started. We thought we were going to have the theater to ourselves, which would have been hilarious. It was like when we went to see Fantastic Four, the Josh Trank Fantastic Four, we were just yelling at the fucking screen because there's nobody there. It's exactly like that, but with fewer people.
Well, it wasn't just your theater.
No. You know what the worst part is? I'm pretty sure it's because The Flash, honestly, there are way worse superhero movies than The Flash, honestly. I mean, there are way worse popular superhero movies. But I think the Ezra Miller thing really killed it.
I think you had a lot of things. I think there's been a lot of ill will built up with the DCEU.
Yeah, true.
You have the Ezra Miller that kept a lot of people away. You have general superhero fatigue. I think you're making a lot of references. I mean, let's be honest. Keaton Batman, that's like 3 generations ago.
Yeah, I know. You know, you and I were kids.
Exactly. The new generation, their version of Batman is Batfleck.
Oh,
okay.
But he's in there though. So
he is, but he wasn't like in much of the marketing. They didn't really like focus on him.
He didn't want to fucking do it anymore.
Exactly.
I guarantee they only included him to wrap him up so he can go, I'm done with this, leave me alone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, from a fanboy perspective, seeing Batman in blue and gray on screen for the first time was kind of awesome.
Yes, he allows, again, I don't know, 50 people to die in his pursuit of this briefcase.
Yeah, 100% is a problem. Yeah. 10 o'clock in the morning. They go out of the way to say it's 10 o'clock in the morning. They're like, why is he even awake?
I thought that was kind of fun. I liked that little bit.
I thought it was funny. Well, but you know, the funny part of that scene was well, first of all, I'm surprised Jeremy Irons came back, because he said he hated all of those movies scenes Alfred in. But, you know, that check must have been fat.
Exactly.
It's also the weird thing is that, like, he's chasing these guys on the Batcycle, even though he is in a fucking hovering jet that can hover 12 feet off the ground that launches him out there. I just followed the fucking jet, man. I don't understand.
I don't know. And if you're that close with them with the bike, just shoot your grappling line. Why are you waiting for it to get destroyed? Killing like 15 people in an explosion.
Honestly, that scene, if it weren't for the CGI, that scene would rule. It's actually pretty good. But then, unfortunately, and I know this is another problem with the production, but when they finally end the scene where Wonder Woman rescues them or whatever, that suit that Affleck is wearing, execution of the suit, was awful. Can't move his fucking neck at all. It doesn't fit him. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And I was saying with Keaton's, it doesn't fit. I mean, it physically doesn't fit.
Well, at least I like that. I mean, Keaton's was always in a time where it was stiff, and they do keep that.
Yes.
Like, he never progressed.
But they at least shot it in a way where that made sense. They would shoot him moving stiffly from one way to the other that looked natural. In this movie, he's supposed to be doing all these crazy things, but in that suit? I don't know, man.
He shouldn't be doing any of the crazy things he's doing anyway.
I loved that. I'm sorry. I loved that. Because it felt like a full realization of what we wanted out of Keaton's Batman. He had fucking jump out and fucking throw batarangs and shit. I thought that was awesome.
I remember how Christian Bale was in that third Batman movie where he's broken down, and he's been doing, what, 5 years?
Yeah, it's like 8 years or something, yeah.
Yeah, and he can barely do it. He has to kind of like get gadgetry so his knees will work.
Yeah.
He can have a fight with someone, and he still gets broken. This guy hasn't done it in decades.
Because for some reason he doesn't have to, which they don't explain.
No, they don't explain.
At all.
They don't explain so much of it. But then he just drops in and he can just do everything as like, I'm sorry. I loved him as Batman. He's an old man now.
There's that moment where he's like on the rafters. He's like, this is probably going to hurt. And then he jumps off and does Batman stuff. It's some of the most badass Batman stuff I've ever seen in a movie, to be perfectly honest. I loved all the play with the Batarang that actually is a boomerang, where he throws it and bounces off and stuff and hits the dude in the face and all that stuff, where he's kicking people's ass like hard. Like he's like,
That's not how a boomerang works. You can't throw it off of a wall and have it like hit somebody like that.
Oh, but you can do it with a shield, right?
That is like specifically they point out that it doesn't work, and it's never worked. It doesn't make any sense. But if you embrace it from the get-go,
if that's your biggest problem with that version of Batman, then I can't help
no,
you,
that's
but
I'm just saying like that's. I mean,
I know. Do you know what's funny? I'm pretty sure that facility they go into to get Supergirl is the same one from Civil War. Another thing they do not tell you that I wish I had known about in some way was that they could break into an old Soviet facility, just like in Civil War, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they still Soviet?
I remember Barry saying, because I just rewatched this bit recently, that they're a group of mercenaries.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, they say a rogue group of mercenaries have kidnapped what they think is Clark at that time, and is being held in this facility.
Okay, so it seems unclear.
I mean, that would be interesting, but they don't get into any of that.
They show you the Red Star and all this stuff on the outside, but the uniforms don't make any sense for that. Which, if they're mercenaries, that would make sense.
It's probably intergang.
So, man, they've ruined that too. Black Hat.
It's
such garbage.
whiff after whiff, really. And I mean, you have this new Supergirl, which is cool.
She was great.
Yeah, I liked this version. I mean, I really don't understand Kryptonian powers in this movie at all, or how they relate to Man of Steel. None of that makes any sense to me, but whatever.
Well, what's confusing?
Okay, so she's been locked up forever.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. She comes out. She has her powers right off the bat. She can do some things. They kind of tire her out. Then she has like a second, like what you'd have entire seasons in Smallville being like, or whole episodes. She grabs your ears because she can hear everything, and the sun's too bright. But, okay, shakes it off, flies and does things. The Kryptonians have powers, but they go out of their way in both the Justice League to show that Flash can't do anything against a Kryptonian.
Yeah.
But he has no problem beating up these Kryptonians right away.
Yeah, that is... Well, so the way I mean...
Batman knocks one out after he does his...
Batman takes one out hardcore. It's awesome.
It is... I'm sorry, but that's old man Batman. What if he was on his, like, Batwalker and was doing it? Sure.
No, what he did... No, he pulled a Star-Lord and put a bomb on his fucking head. That's what happened.
It's whatever they need for the particular scene or story. And that's fine, but there's no consistency.
No, that is the underlying problem with the movie. There's no consistency. Or constancy. There's no one rule you can lay your hat on that, a through line that makes sense throughout the movie. It's just kind of all over the place. Now, they do better than some movies that have that problem in that they do give you explanations for things every now and then. But it's like they give you explanations for every other thing you have a problem with, not everything. Now, I'm glad you brought that up because I do really like the new approach to Kara Zor-El, because the idea that she was set to protect him, that's interesting. But that makes you wonder what the fuck happened to her in the Snyderverse.
A, they have no idea.
No, they don't.
B, you could think if we're going by the opposite rule, whatever happened in this universe didn't happen in that one. Zod finds Clark in that universe and kills him, but he's not the answer. So maybe Zod finds her in that universe, kills her, but she's not the answer.
Okay, but why are they in Australia then? Why? Why is Zod in Australia?
Probably because they got a lot of flack from having 75 9/11s in the last Man of Steel.
I honestly think he isn't shot in Australia. Because why would he go to Australia?
Flash reportedly conducted all its principal photography in the United Kingdom, Glasgow, Scotland, and London, England.
But either way, even if they didn't shoot it in Australia, why does Zod go to Australia to find a woman who's in a bunker in Siberia?
Wait, what?
Zod goes to Australia instead of Metropolis, like in Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Why does he go to Australia? She's in Siberia.
Yeah, but he doesn't know where she's at.
Why go to Australia?
I think because they didn't want to have to blow up a bunch of buildings. They fight in an open desert.
Is this a District 9 scenario?
Hey, I didn't make this film, man.
Dude, I know. You and I are making the same arguments. I know. I'm just saying, this is why it doesn't make sense. Because it does not make sense. I mean, maybe there's deleted scenes that make it make more sense? I don't know. But I ain't seen them.
How did you feel about the, God, what do you, the speed monster?
Dark Flash is what they call it.
Dark Flash. Yeah. Okay.
It was
Flash.
It was super obvious once because I had no idea what it was supposed to be before I had seen the movie, because it's like the toys and stuff that had Dark Flash or whatever, and I was like, I don't understand what they're doing here. Like, they keep picking different Dylan. I don't know why they're doing this, but then in the course of the movie, but only in the last in the third act did it kind of make sense, and even in the third act, only in like that tiny period in which they try going back in time over and over again, did it make sense. It did make sense within the context of the movie. And this is the example I want to mention is better, obviously, than this. But it feels a little like Two-Face in The Dark Knight, where it's like, he's not a character, he's a plot device for the Joker, you know? Mm-hmm. He's not Two-Face. He's just a Joker arc and not a character in and of himself. That's what I felt like with the Dark Flash thing. It's like, but it's not. Because Kate was like, is that Black Lantern Flash? I was like, I love you for asking me a question like that, but no. And then she's like, is that
You've touched my soul for the geekiness of said question.
Exactly. No. And then she's like, is that Black Flash? And I was like, I'd love you even more, but no. And then it was like, oh, he just has weird crystal shit on it.
Yeah. Is that just for being in the Speed Force zone too much?
No, it's for no. That one's actually relatively easy. It's because like he starts developing those weird growths on him because he keeps going back and trying to fix the same event that isn't possible. And so it's supposed to be like the residual. You remember in Doctor Who, in the first season, when Rose does actually go back and change history in a fixed point, and then time is fractured, so all these like demon bat things come out of the sky to try and kill them while they're in that church. It's kind of like that. It's a consequence of trying to change a fixed point in history.
Yeah, but
why does it look like that? I don't fucking know. I don't know.
How does that make any more sense than anything else?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense at all. But I understand why they did a young Barry who is seasoned enough, older Barry who understands more, and then older young Barry who never learned the lessons because of experience. I get that. That's a classic plot. That's fine. But yeah, I don't know why it's like the dark crystals. I don't know why he's covered with dark crystals. I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe develop that idea or like take a line to point out what this stuff is.
Well, I think,
or to like show that he's like literally gone insane by doing this so much.
Right. Well, yeah, they don't do that, but I mean, they do have a line about like him having that when he does that, but when he gets those growths in his hands, arms and stuff, they just mention something about that. Yeah, but it would be better if it was like, oh, he just went crazy by doing this for 80,000 years or whatever it's been.
All right, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, they go out of their way to explain time travel differently, right? You have the pasta scene.
Yeah.
Where I don't know why Michael Keaton knows
literally
more about time travel.
I was like, why would you fucking know about time travel?
Yeah, none of that makes sense. But we're just going to go with it. It's, retrocausal. You don't have Terminator loops kind of thing.
Which, fine, but
that's fine.
Makes no sense, but fine.
Right. In the end of the film, they change young Barry, and by doing that means old Barry never happened, which means none of those events happened. You told me that's literally not how this works.
Well, No, I think so. They do have they present it to you a causality issue, right? Where young Barry dies, so old Barry doesn't happen. And then, yes, you're right, because old Barry knocked middle Barry out of the time coliseum or whatever, intentionally set those things in motion. And since those didn't happen, old Barry never happened. True.
But if Old Barry never happened, it never would have knocked him out.
I agree with you. Yes. You're already dealing with the paradox.
Yes, but you've already explained this paradox can't happen. So you can't go out of your way to explain that and then use that as your final crux for the film.
In the film's defense, and not that I think this is right, but it does go out of its way to say that this is a classic paradox and that some questions don't have solutions.
Fuck off.
That's what the movie literally tells you. This isn't me.
I know, but
they do both of those things.
Now, trying to explain someone trying to cope with the loss of their parent and trying to fix that and saying, hey, there are some problems don't have solutions, okay? And that is for personal human growth and an empathetic connection. I get that. Yes, that actually works for the film. I think they do a good job. And I think Ezra actually brings it in those scenes and makes me feel. But you can't have that. If you go out of your way to I'm trying to explain time travel and how the Speed Force works and how all of these retrocausal loops and whatnot to then use sometimes you just don't know and you can't explain things as your ending. No. F the right off, bro.
Especially if your denouement is that everything should have worked logically and coherently, but somehow you still fucked it up, and that's the twist. Then you can't just be throwing your hands up in the air immediately before that, because then it just means does that matter? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. Who knows? It doesn't matter if you do it that way. If you just throw your hands up at the logic and then immediately go into a resolution that is based in logic, it's not going to fucking work. And it didn't work.
No, and it's maddening. Are we led to believe that those worlds were colliding together and destroying?
Right. Yeah, see, that's what it would have. So it's half Flashpoint, half Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Right, and half incursions within the Marvel Universe, which is exactly what they did in Doctor Strange.
That's 150% correct.
But those don't happen because young Barry stopped old Barry from doing those things.
Yeah, you would think that would be the thing.
I mean,
No, that's fine. All of those things stopped because he went back and stopped himself from saving his mother. That's what fixed all that.
Right, which sent him into another universe.
No, it just straightened the universe out.
No, because he started out in Batfleck universe, then he ended up in Clooney universe. So he ended up in a new universe.
Right. I know that's the twist. The logic, the actual logic was by going back and keeping himself from saving his mother, then he fixed it, and then everything goes back to normal. But the twist is there are still splinters and fractures in the multiverse. Yeah, which I that part I have no problem with. That actually was an intriguing thing. I'm oh shit, you still fucked it up, Barry. Fuck you.
It's fun on its surface. It still doesn't make much sense to me.
It's a fanboy moment,
and I get it for theatrically what it's meant to do.
Oh, absolutely, and it is fun. I genuinely enjoyed that, but it's not that it's. You know what? The saddest part about this movie was that this movie was done with principal photography before Spider-Man No Way Home even started.
It was scheduled to be released in June 2022.
Yeah. And both No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness do this exact concept, but significantly better. And those are still super flawed movies. Those are not great movies.
Yeah.
They're fun fanboy movies. They logically and plot-wise have serious problems, but they're the ultimate fanboy movies. But this movie doesn't even manage to do that. I mean, it's got some of the craziest fanboy stuff I've ever seen in it, but it's not enough to carry the film, like with Multiverse of Madness, where basically the fanboy stuff is the thing you're interested in. Because the rest of the plot is just like another episode of WandaVision.
Well, honestly, the fanboy stuff, that's like they isolate that to 10 minutes of the film.
Yeah, I know. It's all in the one universe.
Yeah. And then it's gone. And you just move along with your plot. I still don't really super care for that film.
I like the fanboy stuff though. I
thought that was fun, and I think it's a great way to like utilize it and then do away with it.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Because like you can recast those characters,
you're not
it's
tied
fine.
to any of that, unfortunately.
But showing Patrick Stewart was amazing, and then like I loved the whole Reed Richards thing. I thought that was great. I loved having Anson Mount back as Black Bolt, because that is like something that is something in canon that the MCU has decided doesn't exist somehow. So having him back was fucking brilliant. Even though there's no way he would die that way because he would know better. But I mean, obviously there are flaws with all of that stuff, but it is a well-crafted fanboy movie. This movie is a sloppy fanboy movie that doesn't pay enough homage to some things and pays way too much attention to things that don't deserve that amount of homage. You know, like if those are okay. So if he travels to a different universe, different timeline, where the Batman 89 is in modern time, why does he bump into the George Reeves 50s and his 70s, 80s Christopher Reeve?
70s,
like,
80s,
why? Why? Yes, I don't know all the hits. I know. Like, why?
I was so sad that none of like the 89 like architectural influence or like the blending of 90s and 50s tech and Art Deco style, that none of that exists.
When they painted up Central City, kind of looked like that, but not enough. But it kind of did. Well, but also they do go to that house that they shot Batman 89 in, the Wayne Manor. That is the same house. It is. It's the same house. And it looks exactly the way it did in Batman 89, which is great. They go through his armory, and then they go to the kitchen, Also, I don't know how I feel about it. I seriously do not know how I feel about it, but when Bruce Wayne shows up as the Dude, I'm very conflicted. He shows up, don't you remember?
Yeah.
It's where he flip-flops, he loses one, he literally has the cardigan on.
Yeah, didn't we
got
see
the long
Thor
hair.
do this recently?
No, he just got fat. That's Disney.
Well, I mean, he turned like literally into the Dude.
Well, he did kind of turn into a young Dude. That's true. But this is like straight up the Dude, which I thought was funny, but I also thought it was kind of dumb and cheap. I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about it.
Also,
I did love that he kicked everybody's ass, though. That was.
I mean, you have this version of Bruce Wayne who's been gone for, what it looks like decades, right? Not only from Batman, but from society. He's in a rundown house. He looks like a recluse, but yet a young, 19, anywhere between 16 and 20 something, Barry would know about Bruce Wayne.
He's older than that, remember, because the young Barry's in college.
Is he? He's in college?
Yeah, they say that. They say, because remember, like, one of the
he's
biggest...
18 to like 21, 22, max.
I think older Barry's significantly older.
Well,
No, he has to be. He has to be, because he was there when Zod attacked.
Older Barry is, but older Barry doesn't know that Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
What I'm saying is young Barry says, Bruce Wayne is Batman, but why would he know Bruce Wayne? Bruce Wayne hasn't been seen.
No, he doesn't say that. He says, oh my God, he's Batman? That's what he says.
Yes, but he says Bruce Wayne is Batman as though like Bruce Wayne would mean something to him in that universe.
No. He literally says, wait, he's Batman? Pointing to, or not pointing, but, implying Keaton in the room. He said, he's Batman?
And he says Bruce Wayne is Batman? I just saw it.
No, I don't know.
I just saw it. That's exactly what he says.
I don't remember it that way, but it's very possible.
Right before this podcast, that was one of the few lines I saw.
Really? Because I don't remember that at all. Because it wouldn't have made sense.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Well, okay, no, that's not true either, because they do talk about Wayne Tech in that universe. They talk about Bruce Wayne. They talk about Wayne Corp. They talk about Wayne Tech. Remember the at the end when they clean up the footage that gave Barry's dad the alibi was provided by Wayne Tech?
But that's in a different universe.
No, that's in this. Well, yes, but it's the same. It's splintered from the same universe.
Okay. Yes and no.
Which means they would have known that Bruce Wayne is a person.
The way that Batfleck uses Wayne in that Justice League Snyderverse is different from the way that Keaton used Batman and Wayne in the '89 universe. And they're just
somewhat,
slapdashly throwing stuff together.
Well, yes and no. I mean, because in Batman Returns, they actually talk a lot about what the Wayne Enterprises does and the Wayne Foundation and all that kind of stuff.
They don't do a lot. I mean, it's some helping out with charities and trying to stop.
It's more than they do in Gotham. I mean, not Gotham. The Batman.
That's true. But what I'm saying is, like, in Gotham, they might know, but Barry doesn't live in Gotham, and Barry hasn't seen a Batman in his whole lifetime. And theoretically, he wouldn't have seen Bruce Wayne in his whole lifetime.
Well, okay, so they do talk a lot about how they're going to see Bruce Wayne. So, I mean, that's not a hard thing to put together. Later, when he's like, oh my god, he's Batman. And he's like, yeah, why did you think we were here?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure the Wayne name is well known in that universe. So I'm pretty sure, because we're meant to believe that is relatively modern times.
Yes,
what I'm saying is that us, and that happened in the.
What
80s.
I'm saying is that they utilize that based on what we as viewers
have to assume,
what we would think of. But
yes,
putting on myself inside that universe, as I'm trying to think of someone who was popular in like 1990 that in 2023.
Well, it's like Bill Gates or something.
But yeah, I think Bill Gates is a little more well-known, seeing as how he's made, like, you know, he and Steve Jobs are a little bit above fucking Bruce Wayne.
You said, I don't know, man. I agree that they don't do like TED Talk. Bruce Wayne doesn't do like TED Talks and stuff, but.
Well, if anything, shouldn't there be like an anti-vax? Someone who's like, "Oh, Bruce Wayne's putting tracking devices in all the vaccines."
Yes, show me that movie. I'd love that. I think that'd be great. Show me that movie. Give me that.
At least
sure.
You see news stories of Bill Gates, you know, like helping out in, you know, giving money to this or, you know, showing up for this event. But if you didn't
completely misguided,
Bill Gates for nigh on 30 years because he's a recluse inside his house, why would a child in you know, at age 20 recognize Bill Gates or know much about Bill Gates?
Then he's just a DuPont at that point.
Exactly. I wouldn't recognize a DuPont.
Well, if you'd seen Foxcatcher, you might, but
I have seen Foxcatcher.
Well, that's what literally comes from. I mean, that's what happens. He's a recluse, crazy, lives in a or the
I know, which is why I
McAfee.
needed a movie to know anything about him. You see what I'm saying?
That's true. There probably is a biopic of Bruce Wayne in that universe. You know, there probably is.
These are such leaps.
I know, but that problem is that we have to put these things together.
It's utilizing like the knowledge of the viewer rather than the characters on the screen and the page.
Yes, exactly. Yes, or what you're hoping is the knowledge of the viewer, which most of them probably don't know a lot of that stuff. Yes, I agree. That is a serious problem. We shouldn't be putting the dots together. They should be doing it for us, and not saying that they need to beat us over the head with them. But at least give us something, you know? And the worst part is that sometimes they do. And it's a total fucking cock tease. It's a Molotov cock tease. Yeah, like, why is Gotham super safe now? You know, it'd be interesting if it was because of Brother I or iMac, or you know,
or Wayne Industrial Tech's
AI
cop,
thing,
bots. You know?
Yes, that came up before too. Yeah, it's something. Tell us why it's one of the safest cities in the world. He says it, but there's no reason why. But he will go on and on and on about how he knows about time travel somehow.
Yeah, I mean, if he could have said something like, "Oh, I dealt with this once before" or something. I don't even need to know that story.
Oh, not
but
at
if you
all.
just say like, "Oh, I've done this before," the kind of thing. It's like, "Oh, okay, this makes a little more sense. I see where you're coming from. I see why you would know about this, seeing as you are the only superhero that we are aware of in this entire universe."
In that universe, yeah, except for obviously Kara, but
right, which is like, again, which one of these is not like the other?
I know. Well, and the worst part about that is, I think the reason that they thought we would all be okay with it, and I'm not saying this is good logic because it's not, but when he, unveils the Bat computer, you're supposed to be like, oh, he's a genius and he knows all sorts of science, so he would know about time travel. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they were implying. Remember, because he's like, oh, he's got a backdoor to NASA because of course he does. He has a line in the movie.
Right, which again, it's this hodgepodge of Batman ideas that are slapped upon any Batman.
Yes.
Which again, it's fine. It's to move the thing along and get us from point A to point C, whatever.
And this is to say this is a terrible movie, because honestly, there are way worse movies than this.
Oh yeah,
but
no, I thought
it just has problems.
It had some fun parts. It a couple jokes worked. I thought the emotional core worked. The basic idea of the film I thought was enjoyable enough. It's just all over the place and it's messy.
It's either diffy, right? It's messy. It feels patchwork. It feels slapped together. It feels kind of like Whedon's Justice League. Even though I think, sadly, that's a little more coherent.
That is much more coherent than this.
Which is sad, because it makes no sense at all. Even though, you know what? I would take that one bad scene of CGI trying to get rid of Henry Cavill's mustache over the god-awful CGI in this movie. It's so bad. It looks like, you know what it looks like? The second Matrix movie. When they did the CGI where he's fighting all the Smiths. That's what it looks like. And it's like, that was, 15 fucking years ago, dude? Like, come on. No,
longer than that.
Probably more than that. Yeah, it's more than that.
And you also had like crazy fight choreography and really interesting action scenes going on over that. This doesn't have that. Well, no, I think it has some cool action scenes. Like, I liked the Batman versus Russians fight. I thought that was cool. I liked the, to a certain extent, I liked the Batfleck, bike, motorcycle chase. I thought that was interesting. It was more action than he ever got in any of the Snyder movies. And it was more interesting than anything he did in the Snyder movies. I thought that was fine. The end action, what's really funny is like all the reviews I read going into that movie were, well, the first half where they're setting up the story and the emotional stuff is good, but then all the action stuff in the second half or third of the movie is not good. And I was like, really? Because that's kind of the only thing that makes sense. It's kind of the only thing that like gives you plot and narrative. I kind of was bored and like annoyed with most of the first half of that movie, honestly. I think I'd probably go more with the reviewers. I found it to be much more engaging in that first half of the film. I thought the Kryptonian fight stuff was a bit of a bore to me.
Yeah, I mean that stuff I think was a little. I thought that was a little excessive and unnecessary, but the plot points they make with those action scenes, I think, are vitally important. I don't think there is a movie without that second half of the movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you just cut it off. I think the resolution and the denouement are necessary. I mean, just absolutely necessary for that movie to make sense at all.
It could be necessary. It doesn't mean it's enjoyable.
Well, I could see why they did what they did, because there are certain parts of that were enjoyable. Because, the point I was making was that when Kate and I were, 2 of 4 people in the crowd, every time Batman or Flash would do something like super badass in the fight sequence, because it's different in the theater than it is at home, obviously, that. We were all like, oh, shit! Like when young Barry broke that dude's back over his knee, or like, that thing. I was like, they fucking paid him, like we were going crazy.
Also, if someone could explain the physics of that to me, that'd be great.
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense. Especially considering, how would that work if you could jump off, like, lawn chairs in midair to save the baby? I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, that stuff, legitimately, we had fun watching that stuff. We were like, oh, shit, that dude is dead. Like, every time, like, Kara would punch somebody in their head would fucking flip all the way around, or, like, that kind of thing. It was entertaining. It's not... He goes on way too long, and it's probably completely unnecessary, but I can see why they did it, like you give that part, and then you have the resolution that ties in the emotional tie to the earlier part. On paper, the movie makes sense. In reality, it doesn't.
Yeah. Where does this leave us? Because this isn't... I mean...
There's only one more DCEU movie left.
Right, that's the Blue Beetle?
Nope.
Aquaman, right. Okay, because the Blue Beetle is the new universe, right?
Yes. According to James Gunn, it is the new DCEU.
And see...
But he said, he went out of his way to say, but the first, quote-unquote, proper first DCEU movie is Superman Legacy.
Right. Which is still, 3 years out?
Which, no, it's 2025, but I'm glad they're taking some time off. They need to stop pumping out mediocre garbage. Otherwise, no one will ever go to those movies ever again.
Yeah.
There was a period when Marvel did that, where they took like a year and a half off or whatever during the MCU stuff. And thank God they did, because it's like ruined everything.
I don't think it necessarily stopped them from going downhill.
Ruining everything? Well, that's because Phase 4, they got over their skis, and they thought they were too big for their britches. And I mixed metaphors.
They got the britches on the skis.
Well, because really, though, I mean, like, Phase 4 was like them being arrogant. They're like, oh, well, we killed it with the obscure, thing like Guardians. We could do it. Eternals? No, you can't. It's awful. Honestly, at that point, they were like, everything we touch is gold. And they were wrong, because most of the things in Phase 4, the TV stuff is good, but the movie stuff is generally bad.
Yeah, I mean, they're still in Phase 4 right now, right?
I think it just ended, didn't it? I think this is the end of Phase 4. With Secret Invasion, I think it's the end of Phase 4.
I'm trying to look what it says.
Unless it's beginning of Phase 5.
Invasion. It says, this says Blade, Fantastic Four, Marvel.
That's Phase 5. That's 100% Phase 5.
I mean,
it has to be.
I don't know.
I saw a poster for Marvels, actually, at the theater. I didn't realize it was coming up so quickly. See, I really wasn't interested in it either.
Unfortunately,
I mean, it might be fine. Good for women actors and women superheroes, but I'm just like...
I like Miss Marvel well enough, and Captain Marvel was
it's
a little mediocre for me, but...
I think it's the okayest Marvel movie ever.
You mean just kind of like middle of the road? Not good, not bad, just there?
Right, it's like a C-. It's like, all right, okay, well, this is a movie. And it's entertaining enough to keep my attention, but it also doesn't say anything, and it also just kind of repeats old cliches. I'm just not that invested in it at all. I mean, more so than the Eternals, for sure. But... Oh, come on. Wait, Captain Marvel's way better than the Eternals. And I don't like Captain Marvel.
Eternals at least was doing some things that Captain Marvel wasn't? That a lot of the other films, does it work? No.
A celestial poked its head out of the fucking ocean.
They've never touched on ever since.
They have never once mentioned it since then.
Supposedly in Captain America, that's supposed to be a plot point, but who gives an F?
Okay, all right. Oh, you Captain America 4?
Yes.
Jesus, who cares? Who
Okay,
cares?
so Flash, it's now part of a what will be a defunct, and that's part of the problem of putting these all in a shared universe, is that when that universe has a defined end date, it feels like it doesn't matter as much anymore.
Absolutely, and I think it's because if they had actually released this on time, according to the original schedule, that would have changed things. Because they didn't know then that James Gunn was going to come in and reboot it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the movie would have been received differently, and then I don't know what cut or what version of the script they would have used, but it probably would have been a bigger film. I don't know if it would have been better, but it would have been a bigger film. But with the Ezra Miller stuff, superhero fatigue, the fact that everyone knows DCEU's ending.
Yeah, you're coming off of Black Adam, Shazam 2.
Bombs. All bombs.
Mega bombs.
Yeah, complete disasters. And honestly for different reasons from each other. But, yeah, I mean, that's a real problem. I feel bad for Blue Beetle, because I think it might suffer from that same stuff. Even though it looks, I don't know, kind of fun. I mean, it looks like, Kate said it looked more like a Marvel movie. I didn't agree, but I see where she was coming from.
I would say, yeah, it looks a little, I get more of a Marvel vibe to it.
Other than the DCEU, which is its own thing. The Snyderverse.
Man, Black Adam made $67 million his opening weekend.
Oh my God.
And The Flash made 55.
Those movies took like 10 to 15 years apiece to finally put on screen. Seriously. Remember, we were talking about a Flash movie way back in like 2007? Remember when Robert Zemeckis was attached to it?
No, but
well, what's his name? Who did the Welsh dude who did Only God Forgives and Drive?
Nicholas Winding Refn?
He was supposed
He's
to direct
Welsh?
Flash. Or Irish.
Is he? I thought he was like Eastern European.
Those are odd names for that, if that's the case. Because I'm Welsh and Irish. Those sound like very Welsh or Irish names. They sound like Gaelic, is what I'm saying. They sound like Gaelic names.
I just know that like his early films were...
Oh, he might have lived in a different area. Yeah. Those are very
Danish.
Welsh, Irish. He's Danish? He has Gaelic names and he's Danish. Wow. Okay.
I can't speak to the origin of his name. But he's also known as Yang, Jang. How about that?
Hey, Andrew Yang. Weird. He was supposed to direct The Flash. And actually, I would like to see what he would do with something with an actual plot. Because none of his movies actually have plot.
Well, they have story, but maybe not plot.
No, Driver is... There's no real Drive. I'm sorry. Yeah, Drive has no plot to it. Only God Forgives is one of the most simplistic, dumbed down plots I've ever seen in a movie. I still like the movie. It's still fun. And then Neon was Neon Devil.
Demon.
No, Neon Demon. No plot to that whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, similar with Bronson and Valhalla Rising, too.
Oh, no, I liked Bronson.
But you asked about its plot. That's not really what it's driven on.
No, there's a plot to Bronson.
I think there's more story than there is plot.
Well, I mean, it's
more like a stream of consciousness, a play being performed that is both like
because they
meta in nature.
You're saying that because they literally do that on stage. There's a point when he does a performance on stage in front of a fake audience. Yeah, I know that happens at Bronson, but
I'm saying there's more of a story than there is plot with Bronson.
I think one of the reasons I like Bronson was because I also saw Chopper.
Yeah.
Which are basically the same movie. Well, they're the same character. I'm sorry. They're the same character, essentially.
Yes.
Not the same movie. They're the same character. And it made sense to me when I watched Bronson. Then I was like, oh, I get this guy.
And just because these films aren't plot focused doesn't mean I don't really love
them. Oh,
them.
no, absolutely. 100%. I agree with you. Like, I love Drive. And I love Only God Forgives. There's nothing to those movies, but that's okay. I don't mind.
No, he's a vibe filmmaker.
And yes, he's a vapor vibe filmmaker.
Oh.
I mean, look at the soundtrack of Fun Drive.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And he was supposed to direct The Flash. I would be interested. I really would. Just like with Aronofsky's Superman, or Aronofsky's RoboCop, or Aronofsky's Batman, or any of the other things he was supposed to do, or Guillermo del Toro's Justice League Dark. You know, I would like to know. We're never going to see it, but
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of him doing Flash.
yeah, I remember that being a big. It was like right after Drive came out, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's really interesting. I would like to see what he does with that."
Huh.
Yeah, he was definitely officially attached to it at one point.
I show stuff with him wanting to do a Batgirl movie.
Oh, that's when they were trying to get Batgirl, and then they got Batgirl made and they didn't release it.
Where there's another question. Like, okay, you put time, money, and effort behind this.
Yeah,
But you have Michael Keaton as Batman.
right, in Batgirl. Right.
And then you throw that away and write it off. Did you make the wrong decision?
Well, isn't the point the big problem that they were supposed to have happen chronologically and they didn't? The entire idea was supposed to be the Flash, then Batgirl. Michael Keaton's character doesn't make sense, apparently, unless you have the Flash movie come out first. Which is also probably why they delayed it, because they established quite vehemently that Michael Keaton's Batman dies in the Flash. And that is an untouchable fixture in time. But that was the way it was supposed to go. It was supposed to be the Flash and Batgirl. And that's how you establish the new universe with Keaton in it. But you don't get any of that because they wanted to dump the Snyderverse, which I don't blame them. But they shouldn't have kept making plans and making movies in a universe that you wanted to dump.
Michael Keaton was 71 at the time of the film's release.
Holy shit! He's older than I thought he was.
See, this is why I have problems with Grant Bats.
Oh, but it's
Fucking-
Batman, though. You know what I mean?
I
It's
know.
not. It's not like one of our grandparents. It's fucking Batman.
Who should be in worse shape than my
Yes,
grandparents?
technically.
My grandparents were getting beaten on by crooks and criminals all day, every day.
I know you can make an argument both ways that he should be in better shape, but also worse shape. Yes, I understand the argument. It's kind of ridiculous. Yes, that stuff I was fine with, and I enjoyed seeing. It was nostalgia, it was fanboy stuff. That part was fun. Those parts were fun.
Yeah. For me, it's a little bit too much. It relies on that rather than like delivering on its own Batman promises.
Yeah, but I can see why they thought on paper it would work, because you're right. The emotion stuff does work. It carries.
And maybe that would have worked better if you didn't have, 3 different Spider-Men in a Spider-Man film.
Oh, I still like that. No, I think that's a better movie, honestly. I think it's a better movie. It's the same idea, and I think it's a better movie. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that movie
I think
more.
it's executed better.
I enjoy that movie more.
I didn't really care for either film.
I'll
say that.
Well, sure, both movies have big problems, but I would 100%, and this is coming from a Flash guy, I would 100% watch No Way Home again before I'd watch Flash. I think it's basically the same concept, but I think much more well executed. There's more fanboy service in a way that actually drives the plot.
Yes. Yeah, it is probably better. I still am not a big fan of either film.
I understand why, and that's fine. I understand, like, in all technical aspects, it is not a great movie. It's not a great... Well, I don't know. I'll kind of go to bat for that movie.
That's also a film that was scheduled. I mean, it came out in 2021,
Yeah.
so it would have come out before Flash no matter what.
What? Really? Has it been that long?
Flash was announced in 2017, but it was scheduled originally for June 2022.
Wow.
So it got pushed back a year. But No Way Home came out in December 2021.
You know, it's funny, though. Flash was originally announced in 2013 at Comic-Con. I was there, and I was reporting on it at the time. That was when Jeff Johns and Zack Snyder, like, Man of Steel had literally just come out. that month,
Right.
or the month before.
I mean, that was all supposed to be part of like the Snyderverse.
Yes, remember they announced they announced Green Lantern Corps as a movie that was supposed to come out like 2019 or something.
But I mean, that's also one of those. I mean, I followed comic book movies long enough to notice that 70% of what is announced does not make it to screen.
Marvel, for the most part, sticks to it. Sometimes it changes it, for sure. For the most part,
I think
sticks to
Marvel also is. They're a head and tails above everybody else,
which is insane considering how sloppy they were at the beginning of their shared universe, and how many complete whiffs they've had over the span of, what was it, 2008 to now. So many fucking whiffs. So many.
I think having that one guy behind the wheel of that bus.
Yes.
As it's trying to like go off the cliff again and again, he's able to right that ship.
Why do you think they hired James Gunn? Because to be perfectly honest, the Suicide Squad is a completely serviceable movie. It's a genuinely cool, fun fanboy DCEU movie. Yes, I enjoyed the Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
When they tried to put one guy in charge, i.e. Jeff Johns, boy, that showed a lot of fucking failings. He's the one that officially hired Zack Snyder. He's the one that shared that vision. He helped co-write Wonder Woman 1984. He's the one that created that slate that had Green Lantern Corps and all that stuff. And there was a lot of other people at Warner Brothers, sure. Like, they switched CEOs like 5 times in that span.
But at every mega
absolutely.
like that,
Disney does that too. That's whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And the CEO of Marvel is not even a comic book person at this point. But having one guy behind the wheel isn't always good. Especially if you do it in a way that's it's like set up as like a domino effect, where you make this movie and then these movies come out subsequently, and you release these movies before the first movie, or you make these movies even before the first movie releases, so you don't even have feedback from it. Because that's what happened with the Snyderverse. It's like Man of Steel had literally just come out when they announced Batman vs. Superman. Yeah,
I mean they want to capitalize on the excitement, and I get that.
Sure,
but it's an easy way to like set yourself up for failure.
Which is what they did. It's exactly what they did. Was that because Man of Steel wasn't good at all. It made some money, but Man of Steel. I'm glad you got to go to this, sweetheart.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah, Tulsa. Okay, yeah, they're from Oklahoma.
Why do I call them a Tulsa King? I was looking up the box office. So Lego Batman made $2 million less than The Flash.
Really?
Opening
That's
weekend.
considered a huge hit.
Yeah. Well, it's also the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah, that's what costs less to make.
Batman Forever in '95 made $3 million less opening weekend.
Oof. Didn't Green Lantern beat it too? Oh, no.
Green Lantern
he just barely beat Green Lantern.
Yeah, it beat it by 1,500.
That's like one theater.
Yeah, Green Lantern just barely missed out tying up the... or Flash just barely missed out beating Green Lantern.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Flash is a way better movie than Green Lantern.
Yes, it is.
Like infinitely so.
Agreed.
And you know what? I hate Green Lantern. It's terrible. That's funny because The Dark Knight made like $2 billion.
Oh yeah, Dark Knight opening weekend was 158. Dark Knight Rises 160.
So that's The Flash. I mean, there's not much more to say about it, honestly. I mean, we could criticize it and nitpick it all we want, but we kind of laid it all down.
For hour 45, so...
I know. Well, for no reason.
Think about years ago saying we were going to have a podcast and a new Flash movie was going to come out. And we're like, do we even cover it? Do we even talk about it?
That's true.
I mean, it's amazing we don't talk about these big comic book movies more often, really.
Yeah, I know. It's because it's so ubiquitous at this point that...
Yeah, it's not special.
Yeah,
what's the thing they did in the Flash movie that you really enjoyed as a hardcore Flash fan?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. I did enjoy that opening shot, that opening like run to Gotham. Even though I'm annoyed that later in the movie he could just drive to Gotham in 10 minutes. And also, they can fly to Siberia in a scene. That's annoying as hell.
It's the Batplane. It can do whatever you need it to do for the plot.
Did you notice, though, one of the interesting things about that was that that's not the Batwing from Batman.
I'd have to take a closer look at that.
And also, strangely, there's that dumb joke where young Barry finds the laughing bag that for some reason Batman keeps, but it's black instead of purple. Black and white, red and green, I know, but...
Stupid.
Something party seed. Yeah, okay, well, that's the Flash. So we're just going to end it on that. Don't forget to pay your tabs. Don't forget to clean up after yourselves to some sort of reasonable degree. Don't forget to support your local comic shops and retailers. And from Dispatch Ajax, we would like to say, Godspeed, fair wizards.
Please, go away.